not convinced that there is a Pakistani Muslim, Asian Muslim, or however you wish to describe it. I think
which is why I asked you what specifically. But I can see why the Pakistani thing might be a thing.
You said that last time. You said that last time.
No. Is what I want to.
You said that last time. And you need to stop lying.
That there is a Islamic quality.
You need to stop lying. That's fine.
Pakistani group.
For 2 weeks.
I met
you 2 weeks ago. No. I met you 2 weeks ago. I met this guy 2 weeks ago, and he admitted to himself he doesn't know the numbers. So he said he's gonna go home and read the numbers. I know this guy hasn't read.
Okay, so this particular guy is called Rajiv, the guy with a blacked cap. I don't know what blacked means. Someone's told me it's like a porn site or something. I have to double check. I'm not slandering or anything. I've spoken to him since this video was taken twice. Once got quite heated and I walked away, and the other time I spoke to him on a live chat. Got heated in the beginning because, if I'm being honest with you, I don't like the way he calls me over and the way that he kind of says, "Oh, you've got to talk to me," and so things like that get my back up. So in the beginning of the chat, things got quite heated. We resolved it. I'm going to address this particular points that he's made in this video, still harshly, even though I don't have an issue with him on a personal level. I do feel that there are things that he says that are very disingenuous, hypocritical, and also he's a definition of what I call what you refer to as sophistry. Now, in terms of sophistry, I'll give you the just so that people can understand before I go on what I might mean by sophistry, is that there are individuals out there that speak really well, softly, and in a way that you might think is very articulate, but what they are saying is pure garbage. And so the definition of sophistry is the use of clever but false arguments, especially with the intention of deceiving. And so they will use false arguments kind of in ways that are also in a kind of more what I call kind of like pseudo-scientific or pseudo-intellectual way. Muhammad Hijab is a master of that. A lot of people that listen to him, originally I thought he was extremely intelligent, and he is intelligent, but he's not as intelligent as people think. A lot of stuff, when you really start to look into it, a lot of the stuff he says is pretty much garbage, some of it. And so I'm going to go over a lot of stuff that he has gone through in this video, which I believe is either he's outright lying because he wants to make a point, he truly believes it and is delusional, or thirdly, I'm not going to say the third one because that's just insulting, so I'm going to try and refrain from the third one. I'm trying to be a better person. So alright, I'll refrain from the third one. I do want to say I would like to chat with Rajiv on he's a men's right activist, so am I, man. He was talking about circumcision and how it's just as barbaric as FGM. Big up for that. I'll give you props for that. Just for that one thing, you went up in my estimation. So let's talk about that and why you believe that and why I believe that too. So if you look at the video again, I'm going to go through point by point why what he's saying, in my opinion, is false, and he's making a lot of let's say straw man arguments or things to kind of distract or muddy the water. Now if you look again,
So I'm asking you, come here.
so you come here. You think what man would walk up to you like that? Do you know who would walk up to you like that? Just a wimp of a man. Like a little lapdog would walk up to you like that. I'm not walking up to you like that. You crazy. If you ever want to get my back up, yeah, this is how you talk to me.
Come on, man. Let's do this shit.
Are you my master?
Say that again?
Are you my master? Are you my master?
Are you a researcher? Are you a researcher?
Come over to me then.
Now, he's saying to me, am I a researcher? Are you a researcher? I can use the same logical argument against yourself. illogical argument. You ask you if I'm a researcher. Are you a researcher? Just because you read and you take in information, it doesn't make you a researcher. You're just having your own viewpoints on the information that has been given to you, and so am I. So I do not claim to be a researcher. So I'm not sure why he's asking this particular question.
Are you a researcher?
If you were standing in Raj,
I understand. If you're worried about your credibility,
it's not standing on truth.
he's a liar, man. He's a liar. Let him come. But yeah, sorry. That has to be done.
Sorry, I was just asking.
Yeah, it's like, I'm scared of you. Come on, dude, man. I've eaten people like you for breakfast, man. That's not a big thing for me, man. We'll chat again in a more civil manner, obviously. I'm being the way I am to you now on this particular video, to the person that I see in that video. And to me, the person in that video was trying to make it out as if I'm some kind of like scared little puppy or something running away. No, I had better things to do, man. You was like number 1,000,002 in terms of my list of things I had to do. So obviously you was right at the bottom. So why am I going to come to you and talk to you on that day? I had too many things to do, man. So he's going to kind of start saying stuff. I'm going to have to go through a couple of things. So please, people, listen, because I think it's important. Because he tries to muddy the water and tries to kind of deceive people with sophistry. Remember what sophistry is? And let's just find out who the so the CEOP. He keeps on mentioning the CEOP, and I mention the CEOP as well. But he's very, very selective about the dates that he goes to. So he tends to go to the 2011 data rather than 2013 for a reason, because he knows the 2013 data is much more damning when it comes to the grooming of Asian Muslims. So they're called a Child Exploitation and Online Protection Command. So they deal with obviously a whole range of things, and this is the organisation that is the body in the UK that defines what is sexual abuse, what isn't, and how they tackle it and everything. So this is like one of the most important organisations in relation to this particular crime. Now, one of the things I want to say is that with Rajiv, he's a black guy. We're still trying to figure out why he's got Rajiv as the name. I'm going to show you something. So 926. Let's have a look. 926. All right, just give me a sec.
About grooming. Can you name one? Can you name someone that's got to a child without grooming? So separating the two, you can't separate the two. They're intrinsically the same.
You are conflating these figures.
It's not conflating. This is the CEOP definition. You guys are making your own definitions by trying to separate the two.
Okay. So I was right then when I thought you are putting.
So what Rajiv is saying, that you can't separate the types of sexual abuse because the CEOP has separated them into type 1 and type 2. The white guy who is right is saying that Rajiv is conflating the figures by putting them together and making the figures skewed. And he's saying he's not. He's saying that the CEOP is a body that has arranged this particular sexual abuse categories in one big figure. They haven't, dude. Obviously, like, I'll give you an example, just so that you understand. When you do a crime, yeah, I'll give you an example of, let's say, theft, yeah. Now, the importance of categorizing crimes. Now, when you have theft, there is lots of different types of theft. You have the two main types are burglary and robbery. Now, under the law, they are both categorized as theft, yeah, and will be under that legislation. The same way that you will have sexual abuse under a particular category. But both of them, I'm going to go with the burglary and robbery, are done for specific reasons and different reasons, yeah? And the effects are different. And but the overall effect is the same, I mean. So somebody has lost their property, or has been threatened, or something has happened to them that that they are being violated in terms of someone coming into their space and they've taken something from them. So the end result is pretty much the same. Somebody has been harmed or their particular property has been taken, but the process and why the person has done it is different, which is why you have to treat them both differently. So you will have burglary treated in one way and robbery treated in different ways. So street robbery or robbery, whatever you want to say. And so you have to categorize them differently, because in order to tackle the crime effectively, you've got to separate them. Yeah, but they're under the same category of theft. So I hope people can understand that. So what the CEOP has actually done, as you can see here, so this is from the Channel 4 website, and they did a little article on it, and so they broke it down quite well. So I like to use this one. So it says that in 2013, the COP published a study looking at contact sexual offending against children by non-related adults. Obviously, contact means that people that are actually physically harmed, because they also deal with internet crimes as well. They found that there are two types of group-based abuse. So they found this and they categorized it. Now, let me ask you, Rajiv, are you higher than the CEOP, or are you lower than them? Now, I need you to understand this. You may think that you are higher than them, that you can categorize it as one, but you can't. You've got to go by the definition that has been given by the CEOP, and they have categorized this for a reason, not because they hate Muslims. It's not like they're sitting there, all these Islamophobes, trying to figure out a way to conflate the figures so it makes Muslims look bad. No, if you think that, then you are very paranoid and very, 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 very irrational. They are doing it so that they can separate the two crimes and target them as individual crimes. And so this is much more effective, because if you read the two types, so type 1 is the one that most of the Muslim grooming gangs, Asian Muslim grooming gangs, go under. And this is normally involves targeting a victim or victims based on their vulnerability. Yeah, do you get that? Based on their vulnerability. So the girl could be 15, 16, 17, she could be 12, she could be 11. The main reason why they target her is not because of her age. It's to do with the fact that they find her vulnerable and they want to take advantage of her. So type 2, remember this is a CEOP categorization, not mine, is a group of abusers as defined as having a long-lasting sexual interest in children. Yeah. Type 2 groups operate in a way that's often categorized as a paedophile ring. So what they're trying to say is that with type 1, when a girl hits 15, 16 or whatever, they will still abuse her, because their interest isn't because she's young or she's a kid. So the abuse can keep going on until in their 20s or the 30s. Now, this is very important because the abuse is going to be very long lasting, and the crime is going to be different in the sense that when you have a type 2 who is just going for someone when they're young, when the girl hits a particular age and she matures, he would most likely stop abusing. Yeah, his main interest is in going for a young girl, and then he would probably go for another girl who is young again. Yeah, and the person he abused, he would leave. This is very important in the sense that the motivations behind it and the reasoning behind why someone commits sexual abuse is extremely important in order for you to tackle that particular abuse. Do you not see how that's how clear that is? So there's no point trying to tackle a street grooming guy with the same tactics you probably use for someone, exact same tactics that you would use for somebody that's interested in a 6, 7 year old, because she's young. Yeah, so you have to tackle the two, and you've got to separate the two. They don't separate it so that it makes Muslims look bad. Yeah, they've separated it for practical reasons so that it can tackle the crime in an effective way. The same way they separate lots of other crimes, like within murder, you have manslaughter, you have this and you have that, and you have it within theft. Obviously, you have what I've said before was burglary and robbery, but you also have larceny, you have lots of other stuff, fraud and everything that is also in there. So let's go on to. Let's have a look. Are you my? So we'll go to the numbers now, yeah, because let's have a look. If you go to, where is it? 8:30. Should really.
Got responsibility. That means you are saying indirectly they have said, yeah, that there's something Islamic, yeah, Islamically wrong, yeah, that is being held.
Taking their word for it. They've admitted that they have some.
But when we say other things,
But I don't understand. I give you numbers, right, from the people who are entrusted by the government to research these statistics. You say that, no. But you're taking the word of people who I know personally haven't read the actual numbers.
You're doing that, dude. You haven't read the numbers, or you've read the numbers and you've conflated everything together. So your argument and your particular way of wanting to prove your point goes in your favor. And so you're also saying, I like the guy Isa. I haven't really spoken to, but I do like him. But I will say this: there is an Islamic element to it. You cannot take this out of it. Now, is it Islam? I've said it so many goddamn times. I'm just like, like a broken record. But the repressiveness of Islam in terms of sexuality is very, very, very destructive. Now, you are in a country where the West is not moderate in their behavior or their dress. You are then perpetuating a particular way of living that is extremely strict. I mean, if you're looking at the ends of the scales, you have Muslims right at this end where it's strict. You have Sikhs that probably a little bit in the middle, and then you have the West over there. And so the further down you go this way, the more deviant their behavior is going to become when they see the other end. We don't become as deviant because we're in the middle. And so when we see somebody, we're not so kind of sexually repressed in the way that the Muslim community is. There's a lot of sexual repression there. I'm not saying that within my community there isn't. I mean, I remember when I was younger, I was told, if there was someone kissing on the screen, I'd have to cover my eyes or leave the room. Or, if there was something on, I'd have to walk. We would never talk about anything sexual. I'd have to I'd be so embarrassed. And, we have to admit one thing as well. Some people are not as sexual as other people. I've never really been that much of a sexual person. But I've known some guys that are horny little devils. Like freaking, anything that moves, they look like they're like frothing at the mouth. And so everybody is different. And so, maybe people that are at the park or thinking like that, their way of looking at the world, women and stuff, maybe it doesn't affect them in the same way. But there could be some young guy who's a horny little thing who can't control his emotions, and he's been told you can't look at women, you can't do this, you've got to lower your gaze, women should be covered up. And then he's in a ghettoized community where he only really interacts with women through very limited exposure. Whereas within the Sikh community, we're like constantly mixing with women because if you go to the temple, they're everywhere. You can't get out of the way. They are there in every part of your life, including at home and at the temple, and then outside as well. So there's more of a healthy attitude towards women. Whereas in Islam, you have women seen as more objects, sexual objects that need to be covered and are kind of precious, and that if you uncover them, they're not deemed to be respectable. And so you have a very, very toxic mix of this particular mentality that needs to be addressed. You cannot ignore it. It is there. And, there's so many things in this video. I mean, this video is going to go on for quite a while, so I apologize, guys. Try and stick through it. It was hard for me to watch this video. So if you look at 926, like I said, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to go back to this because this is very, very important.
So separating the two, you can't separate the two.
Yes, you can separate the two.
So you are saying, it's not conflating.
Yes.
The CEOP definition.
The CEOP definition separates them. Can you not see that? How can you not see that? You are joining them together. Yeah, and you're telling us that we cannot separate them when they separated them themselves. I'm not sure what is going on, whether he's just kind of trolling us sometimes. Sometimes I think he's trolling me. I don't know what he's doing, whether he's just like thinking, because he's an intelligent guy. I can't say he's not, but it doesn't mean that he's sensible. You know, some intelligent people are very, very stupid in the sense that they're not sensible people.
Can I conflate a definition that I have read?
How can you conflate
But I've
listen to
read the
this.
stats. I've read the definition. How can I conflate a definition that I have read?
How can you conflate a definition that you have read? You're a human being, so you can conflate it. It's not you're not God or anything. You're not some kind of robot that cannot conflate anything. You can. That's a very arrogant thing to say. You know, anybody can misconstrue or conflate particular figures and stuff like if they really wanted to. You know, you're saying you can't do it because I don't even understand what that means. And you're actually accusing others of conflating figures. You know, you're being a hypocrite in this sense. And so, let's have a look. Number 12.
Because they only have an attraction to children. Now, understand this, right? How can you be a type 2 abuser without going through type 1 methods?
Because you're not trying to mix the two up.
I'm not. This is the CEOP. This is what they've defined it as. So don't please, if you want to say someone's conflating, go to the CEOP and tell them you're conflating two things that we don't want. Please don't tell me that I read the definition wrong when I read the definition and you clearly have.
He's not even conflating, he's asking.
Okay, let's go back. CEOP, type 1, they have categorized it, published a study, and they have found there are two types of group abuse base. They found. CEOP found. So type 1, yeah, is vulnerability, and type 2 is about age. Obviously, both of them will be connected in the sense that the same way that when someone steals something, there is a link in the sense that somebody who steals from a home is still stealing and the after effects are going to be similar. The same way that someone robs someone on the street, they are still violating that person still loses property in both cases. So there is a link, obviously. There's no doubt about that. They're under the same categorization, but they are separated for a reason.
To say, how can you separate between the two? How does that
separate? How
actualize?
do you separate?
Come up to the conclusion.
No, I've
Separate.
asked.
I mean, I'm not an expert in this.
No,
I
I'll
can just
ask.
see that there are type 1 and type 2, and I see you mixing them all up together.
Okay.
Yes, excellent. Sorry if I don't know your name, Mr. White Man. I'll find that next time, and that's not racist. But he is right. You are mixing up the two figures in order to make the figures look more respectable to you, and he's correct. And he's, I'm glad that he's kind of sticking to his guns because it's very hard for sometimes to think when you're in this situation.
Mixing it up, but you haven't read the stats.
I'll ask him again. How can you be a type 2 abuser without using type 1 methods?
Once again, Rajiv, yeah, they are linked. So obviously, when you are trying to abuse a child, you will be going through some kind of grooming process. No one has said that doesn't happen. So you're strawmanning an argument that has never been made. Yeah, you are trying to muddy the water and strawmanning an argument that has never been made. We know for a fact that when someone abuses a kid, they're going to have to groom them to a certain point. Yeah, but their motivation is the fact that they are a child. Yeah, when they hit a specific age, they have no interest in them. As soon as they hit maturity, they will leave them. When it comes to type 1, obviously they're grooming again. But their ultimate goal isn't because, or the reason why they're attracted to these people and why they're doing it is not because of their age. It is to do with the fact they are vulnerable. Even when they turn 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, and they're adults, they're still being groomed. So can you not understand why the two have to then be tackled separately? Can you not understand? Or can the people write down at the bottom, am I being mad? Or is this guy a genius? Which one is it? I need to know. Am I crazy or is he a genius? And he is seeing something that nobody else or I cannot see. Because sometimes, you know, maybe I'm thick and I can't understand what's going on. I don't know.
How can you get a child to do what you want without either grooming them, blackmailing them?
No one has said that though.
Offering them rewards.
You're straw manning.
And you say type 1 is completely different to type 2. So what method do type?
Nobody said they're completely different. You're straw manning again. We are saying they're from the same category, but they have different definitions and they are different types of abuse that need to be separated in order for us to understand the perpetrators and for orders to us to then tackle the perpetrators. I will use the same analogy again about theft. You will have people that do burglary and somebody that does street robbery. They both, at the end of the day, result in people losing their property in some way or another. But the motivations why they are doing it is sometimes different, and the way to tackle them is going to be different as well. Yeah, they're not exactly the same, and this is why you have different types of categories within crimes, so that the police and the CEOP in this particular case can separate and tackle each one in an individual manner. Otherwise, you're going to have a cookie cutter way of dealing with things. And when you're trying to deal with somebody who's a type 1 perpetrator with the same technique that you're trying to use for a type 2, it will not work effectively. Can you not understand that? Sorry about the rant, but this guy is starting to do my head in a bit, if I'm being honest with you.
You're the one saying that I'm conflating, so I'm asking you to back that up. So I'll ask you.
Yes, I'll back it up. You have put all the figures of type 1 and type 2. So type 1 obviously is a street grooming, which is 85% from the Muslim background, Muslim Asian background. And then you have put type 1, which is pedophilia, into that as well, which we know is around 95 or to 100% white indigenous population. Yeah. And so you're mixing them so that the figures look less damaging. And so you are conflating the figures or manipulating the figures. Yeah, so it doesn't look so bad.
That's fair enough. I admire that. That's fair enough. I prefer learning rather than staying in your...
Well, I hope you do learn. Can you learn?
If that's what you believe,
What you seem to be saying is that type 1 and type 2 can't be separated.
they can't.
Yes, however they are separated.
But that's the thing. The CEOP actually said the people who did the articles, right, conflated their definition.
Once again, he is lying. And the CEOP has said here they have put them into two categories. The CEOP have. They have put them into two categories. Yeah? Can you not? It's blurry, but I showed you before anyway. They have done that. And when they've done the findings, this was from 2013, so there has been many more cases since then, which is why at the moment it only says 75% of type 1 group abusers who largest victims based on their vulnerability were Asian. Obviously, we know what Asian means, yeah? And it says here that the National Statistics estimates that 7.5% of the UK's population are Asian. Obviously, once you take out the Sikhs and the Hindus, you're looking at probably around 4%, 3 to 4% being from an Asian background, from a Muslim Asian background. Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Indian, Muslim, Afghani, and all of these kind of people that are involved in these particular crimes, and people even from Iraq and Iran and places like that. And so, you know, it's very frustrating when you have somebody that thinks they are extremely intelligent, and maybe he is intelligent, but not in this particular case, who thinks that what he's talking about is right, and he's doing a lot of damage in terms of people not facing up to what the problem is, because he is conflating the figures himself. So you'll see, this is where it goes up to the...
So separate people who were doing it because they like children and people who wanted it for personal gain. There's a big difference between abusers and people who genuinely just have a thing.
So if you like type A and type AB.
So picture it this way. Don't picture it as two sides. Picture it as his type 1 and it's a branch going down in type 2.
No. Type 1 here, type 2 there, sexual abuse at the top, type 1 here, type 2 there. So they're on the level thingy. There's not one under the other. They are side by side. Type 1, type 2. Yeah? You are making these categories up yourself as you're going along.
The gangs, I've heard people say that they are targeting girls for their vulnerability, and there might be some motivation, which could be religious or racial. So
Yes, there is a religious element to it in the sense that when you're told that you're somebody who's a non-Muslim is less than you, and you're constantly told you are the best of people, and that even somebody that is, say, a murderer or somebody, as long as they have taken the Shahada and they do the 5 pillars, they're still better than the best Muslim. There is a superiority complex going into this, and so you will have Muslims, and I've seen it a lot and I've heard it a lot. Oh, we are, the Muslims are the best of people. Now, I'm sorry, you're not the best of people. There are some great Muslims, but just because you're a Muslim, it doesn't make you automatically the best of people. I've met people that are atheists, that are incredible, people from all different backgrounds here, even though I don't agree with atheism. So when you have this mindset put into somebody of the kuffar and the non-kuffar, and the kuffar, no matter how good they are, they're never going to be better than the Muslim, you are creating a supremacy within that particular group's mind. You also have, and whether you like this or not, within the Asian subcontinent, there is a lot of what I call looking down upon white women in a way. I mean, I've seen it. I have to admit, at one point, sometimes I've been guilty of it because I'm a traditionalist. I'm very brutally honest, and I do think the West has become too debauched in the way they behave in a way. Like, even I have to say, dress modestly. I'm not saying that you should, but I'm just saying that's what I think. But that doesn't then make me go around going, oh, that woman's not dressed modestly, so I can do X, Y, Z. That's the difference. I can still think that, but because I've got a more healthy view on probably sex and women and stuff like that, or the Sikhs have in general, we don't have that kind of, obviously we think we should dress modestly, but when we see somebody that isn't, we don't automatically go, oh, she's a slut, and so, oh, she deserves to be X, Y, Z because she's not Sikh. Whereas Muslims, I personally think, Asian Muslims have this kind of superiority complex that maybe the other communities within the Muslim community may not have. I'm not sure, but that is my viewpoint that I've seen. Yeah, no, this is a little bit. This bit really annoyed me. Now, get ready for some some shouting. I think so. It might get a little bit loud in a minute.
Of other ethnicities within this grooming problem, it's solely white girls.
well, like I say, it might be a cultural or ethnic thing, but people take advantage of other races all the way around the world.
Yeah, so I'm saying in these grooming gangs, sorry, in these recent ones that have come to light where Tommy Robinson highlights them, I haven't seen any black girls, I haven't seen any Asian girls, I haven't seen. There may have been, but
May have been. Are you freaking kidding me? There's hundreds, probably thousands. My own relative, Hindu Sikh girls have been going through it since the 80s. The different reason why you don't see it is because we also have a problem within our community about honor. So we don't like to go to the police. There have been thousands. I mean, if you was to count from the 80s, it's probably thousands. They just will never come to light because they're too embarrassed. Obviously, there has been a case that I know of that went to the police and went to court, and it was of a Sikh girl in I think 2013 or 14, and that one resulted in conviction of 6 guys. That was a bit more of a, there was I think it was like 4 Muslim guys, and they were all from different backgrounds: Indian, Pakistani, and there was a guy from Afghanistan, and then I think there was one Hindu guy. I think it was 5, I can't remember, and there was one Hindu guy, and so that was the one which resulted in the police not taking it seriously, and then 40 Sikhs went into this restaurant that was grooming them and beat people up. I'm not condoning violence. No, I'm not. So they beat them up, and they went to prison for protecting one of their girls, and they should have. They're heroes. So whatever anyone says, those guys are heroes. Big them up. They are not. They are not. They are not what I call criminals. They were doing something that the police should have done. So there have been thousands. Just because you haven't heard of it, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. This is why I think there's a problem especially when I speak to black people, especially, they're not experiencing this from the Asian community the same way that the white and the other Asian communities are facing it from the Asian Muslim community. When a Muslim person did do it, it resulted in a rape, resulted in a Lozelle riots in Birmingham, and a black guy getting killed. But the riots, I think, sent out a freaking massive shockwave to the Pakistani Muslim community. Do not mess with our girls. And I'm not going to say whether I agree with it or not, but it probably worked. And so they're more terrified of trying to go for black girls than they are for other groups. So now this is where, really listen to this.
I haven't seen.
Oh, before I go on though, because this is I'll put a link below, but this is one of the saddest cases I've actually heard of a Sikh girl. This is on the Sikh. This is Sikh Youth UK, and this is the Sikh channel. And this case here is so traumatic.
My mum about it, because these people make you feel so isolated from the rest of the world. They just play mind games after mind games after mind games. At the beginning, I love you, I want to be there for you, your parents on anything, will always support you, but that's the trap that put me into that place, the darkest place that I've ever been in.
Yeah, this particular case, I find it very difficult to listen to. In a way, it does remind me of my own relative's case to a certain degree. In no way is bad, but yeah, it's hard for me to listen to that case. And yeah, she was a Sikh girl, and that's just one of thousands that have probably been hidden under the carpet. So if you listen to him.
Raj, you said that there was a problem with girls being.
Raj doesn't read his numbers. He doesn't read his numbers.
I think it was anecdotal from West London.
Yeah, exactly. Because anecdote, you can use anecdotes if you're an idiot. But I'm not being rude. There's so many.
Now, anecdotal. How can my cousin, who I know personally, be anecdotal? Do you understand? Like, anecdotal, let's get the definition of anecdotal. Let's try and find it here. Where is it? Not necessarily true or reliable, because based on personal accounts rather than facts of research. Now, I know from my own situation that this wasn't imaginary in my head or anything like that. There have been thousands of other cases that just because you have not heard of doesn't mean they're anecdotal. There are thousands of cases that have gone through where the Sikh Youth UK and Sikh Awareness Society have helped these girls. For them, it's not anecdotal. So you're saying to use anecdotal is being an idiot, yeah? Referring to me, obviously. And so let's have a look at this. Remember what he says? Remember what he says here?
Girls being.
Raj doesn't read his numbers. He doesn't read his numbers.
I think it was anecdotal from West London.
Exactly. Because anecdote, you can use anecdotes if you're an idiot. But I'm not being rude. There's so many.
Yeah. So thank up, bro, my white brother, defending me. Yeah. Everyone's gonna go, oh, why'd you say he's white? Yeah, I just like trolling people. I'm glad like that. Sorry, man. I know it triggers people, so now listen to this.
Islamically,
There's an overrepresentation of Asian girls who are groomed, and most of these are possibly Muslim girls. So they're grooming their own, plus they're grooming other people.
they don't
So
care.
where
They-
exactly?
that's-
No, but we know this. We know this. We need to clear the fact that other.
So you're doing anecdotal, dude. Where did you get these figures from? Where have you got this from? You are doing anecdotal. There's no figures. There's nothing. It's your own personal opinion.
I'll say that's, as a Muslim, for me, there's no looking
What
into
I'm
it.
trying to say
I
in
know what the
particular,
conclusion is. I know what the conclusion
there's
is.
an
And grooming is forbidden.
Yeah.
Islamically,
There's an overrepresentation of
Theologically.
Asian girls who are groomed, and most of these are possibly Muslim girls. So they're grooming their own, plus they're grooming other people.
They don't
So
care.
where
They-
exactly?
that's-
No, but we know this. We know this. We need to clear the fact that other people don't. So I want to know where you get this idea that it's solely white girls.
Give me the proof. of that particular narrative that you're spinning there, playing out fibs that you're doing. You are the master of sophistry. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just going on and babbling, hoping that people think because of your calm demeanor and because you're quite articulate that they think that you know what you're talking about. Anybody that has got a brain cell between them will understand most of what you say, and I'll say it again, is verbal diarrhea when it comes to this. And I've said it to you before, and I'll say it again. It's complete garbage. You've just absolutely shown that you're a hypocrite. You're calling me somebody that has anecdotal evidence, even though I've got first-hand experience. And on top of that, I've heard other cases, and there's statistics all over the place showing that the Muslim community, Asian Muslim community, is doing this particular crime in an epidemic scale. But you're now bringing out this, oh, well, in the Muslim community, we know that the Muslim girls are being targeted as well. Proof. Or is it anecdotal? Where's the proof? So here's another situation where you go, I don't know where that is.
And it's only white girls.
I get it from the newspapers, from the press.
There you go.
No, he's being honest about it.
No, it's just because it's just exactly. No, that's where it gets a bit tedious.
So the newspapers like the Mirror, that is very left leaning. The Guardian, very left leaning. You can't say they're all right wing Islamophobic newspapers. I mean, you're being very patronising in the way that you're talking to this guy. Like you're saying that all newspapers. Now there are some newspapers that have different political leanings, and one of the ones that is very left is the Mirror. In fact, I think that they are underrepresenting what's going on, but they have done full-on articles on this as well.
These newspapers, what are their political leanings, right? I was going to say conservative leanings, but that's a bit biased.
Thousands of people who get their information like this.
No, I understand.
A Muslim person might see that someone who wasn't Muslim would be a lesser person.
Yes, there is a problem within the Islamic culture as well of the kuffar and the non-kuffar. And so you have this issue and you cannot get around from it. It is a problem.
Something like that. And it might not necessarily be in Islam. You could
Volunteers to go to Haiti and abuse Haitian citizens.
You
I'll give you an example.
can ask in these questions that don't have a... You're not in this. If it's a superior person and...
There was something.
What's happening? As Muslim, he explained to me how...
All right, so I was going to go back. I can't find it. We're going to the next one. Yeah, yes. All right, so let's go to 1940.
Vulnerable, and that's why they're taking it specifically as well. They come back here and they tell people how easy it is to go in there, and that's a risk. That's a risk. But you can't draw that same parallel here because, again, you guys have the power here. Like, for the most part, you are the majority. You have the power.
So he's saying because the white people have the majority and have the power, the Muslim community cannot abuse white girls. Are you freaking serious? Listen to what you're saying. You're saying that because they're the majority, their girls cannot be abused because they have the power behind them. We know for a fact that the police, even in the Sikh situation, did not support the girls. They turned a blind eye in terms of the councils and the police because they were scared to be called racist. So this is another real turkey of an argument that I cannot believe that he's gone for that.
And you have the government behind it. You have so many authorities that you can go to get these things addressed.
But you say that,
But you don't.
You know this guy, I said on the thingy that he's an apologist for groomers and stuff like this, and I'm going to stick by that. I think I called him something much worse, but I won't go down that route. He's just making apologies after apologies after apologies after apologies. Just stop raping, man. You know, it's very simple. It's not overly complicated. Just stop it. When you see a young girl and she seems a bit vulnerable, instead of raping her, why don't you kind of take her to a doctor or maybe the police or something like that, instead of grabbing her and like intoxicating her and like, you know, plastering her with drugs and everything and raping her. So it's pretty simple. It's not hard, or it's something that you got to be a brain surgeon to understand. So I found it very, very disrespectful that he's saying that you cannot be, that being white means that you're protected.
That's so weird. That's so weird because everyone here who's Muslim, right? I've never seen any conviction for child grooming or anything like that. Tommy Robinson in particular, in the EDL, there's various convictions for child pornography, child rape.
What a stupid thing to say. So you've gone around the whole part of Speaker's Corner talking to Muslims and asking if they got conviction rates for paedophilia or any kind of sexual abuse. Who would tell you in the first place? Then you're saying that the people that hang around with Tommy Robinson are all lots of them are paedophiles. There are a few in there, obviously. But how do you know that everybody that you've met at Speaker's Corner hasn't got a conviction rate? A conviction. How do you know? Tell me. Have you gone through their criminal records? The kind of things you are saying are just so goddamn retarded that, I'm not even sure that you understand what you're saying anymore.
Talking about Tommy Robinson, holding people accountable, please, do you know what I mean?
Tommy Robinson can hold people accountable because he is not a grooming rapist. Yeah? If people within his flock that he cannot control, that are millions of thousands or whatever, some of them have the beast one, he cannot control those people's actions, can he? He can highlight them and say, and chuck them out and say, we're not part of this. So you have 920.
I'm not, but he's expecting Muslims to control their own flock. How can they do that?
How can you control your own flock? Let's have a look. It's a really tough question, How can you control your own flock? Right, someone comes up to me who's, let's just say, a friend. And he's a Sikh, and he goes, "Oh, bro, man, it's Friday night. Let's go out. There's a little 13-year-old girl that I've met, and let's get some booze and some drugs. And I've got another mate who wants to pay some money to have sex with her. How much would you want to pay? What would you do? Think about it. What should you do?" I would say, shut the fuck up. I'm taking you to the police, and I'll probably smash him in the mouth. Yeah. I'm not saying violence, but I'm saying some people, you at least take them to the police. If your brother comes over to you and says the same thing, if your cousin says it, if your uncle says it, anybody that says it to you, you say, I'm not doing it. You take responsibility for your own self, and then you can take responsibility for other people's actions as well by shopping them in. Now, this is such a stupid, idiotic thing to say. It's unbelievably stupid. This is why the Muslim community or Asian community is in such disarray when it comes to this. They do not understand the concept of, if somebody is going around, you have cases of all brothers. I think there's a case where there's 4 brothers that were caught for grooming a 12 or 13-year-old. Other ones where there's uncles and, friends and cousins and everybody in there, all convicted of doing this. For them, it was just a fun night out. Oh, we're going out to, rape a little girl. Let's all have a little bit of a joke. This is how you police your community. When that happens, I said ask my nephew, what would you do if I told you right now that I've got a 12-year-old or 13-year-old girl, and let's go out and meet her and we can have sex with her? Do you know what he said? He'll kick the shit out of me and send me to the police. This is how you deal with your community. You shot people in. Simple? Is that overly complicated for you? God damn it, man. Sometimes this is why I'm a misanthrope, yeah? And I dislike humanity as a whole, on average, because people are so goddamn stupid in the sense that their morality is I'm not even sure where they get their morality from. Someone's telling you something that is abhorrent and wrong, but you're gonna be like, what should I do? Should I tell or should I join in? No, you don't. You just don't just join in. You freaking will shot the guy. You tell somebody and you shot them in. Sorry for that thingy, but it does piss me off. This stupid, idiotic.
Do you think it's
precedes that. From the major sins in Islam, yeah, one of them is killing someone. Yeah?
So this black guy's going to admit that there's a superiority in Islam. Sorry, this is Isa.
The superiority and inferiority complex regarding Islam, yeah? There is a level of truth to that.
Yeah, not just a level of truth, it is truth. There is a superiority within Islam, and you can say that within all faiths, but it's taken to another level within Islam where, you know, your only real criteria to be better than someone is to be Muslim. And, you know, you have a system as well within Sharia that is a legal system which also makes you better than the other person. A bit like apartheid or you know, you have a two-tier system which subjugates the other person. So you, within Christianity, you do not have that particular element within it where you have a legal structure as well as your theological ideology on it. So it is very, very dangerous. So at least he admitted it. I like honest people. So let's just say
Just because one crime is worse than another.
34.
I see.
So they don't even have, when we talk about YouTube comment section, we need to talk about the demographic that tends to comment on YouTube section, right? These are people with a lot of time on their hands because they don't have anything else to do. Meaning that they don't have sufficient human contact most of the time. Most of these people are outcasts. So they don't even have like that empathetic, social skills that other people have. So of course these people are going to be taking the message.
He's talking about me generalizing. Do you know what he's talking about? People that comment on YouTube. They don't have empathetic skills. Dude, seriously, man, billions of people are on the internet at the moment. Not all of them are emotionally retarded. Most of them are just normal, everyday people that are walking around, and when they come online, and obviously you have some people that probably do prescribe to the way you're saying it, but the way you're generalizing a whole swathe of the world who are commenting on YouTube as being emotionally retarded and not having very, very little empathy is very, 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 very stupid, in my opinion. So it's nearly over. Don't worry, guys. It's nearly over. It's a bit of a torture for me as well. Where is it? So if you go to 35. Now listen to this.
There's not a bit of an inkling in my mind that says to me, Grooming might be alright, you know? At least, I'm better than him because I pray, but I'm a groomer.
It's like Tommy Robinson's fans, right? We all know they're just converted football hooligans, right? If you want anger, you're gonna go and find it. They don't give a shit about grooming guys. They don't give a shit about British girls. They're just out here to cause trouble. Yes.
What a generalization again. What if I said to you that all Muslims are terrorists and groomers and go around, they don't give a shit about anything, and that's the only thing that they do? Yeah? That is what you're saying about Tommy Robinson fans, which is including myself, Steve the Atheist. You have other people that come to the park that aren't so open but support Tommy Robinson. There were so many people there that my sister supports Tommy Robinson, and other people that I know who are in the Sikh community support Tommy Robinson. And so all of us are categorized as knuckle druggers who don't give a shit about anything. And you're telling me I generalize. Can you not see the hypocrisy? At least I know, one thing about me, I know my faults. I know I can be a hypocrite, and I admit it. I can be a hypocrite. I can be selfish. I can be an a-hole sometimes. That's just human nature, but I'm fully aware of my flaws, and I can try and address them. People like him think they are beyond any kind of criticism and think that they're great and think they're the best people in the world, which is why he can then go around saying about Tommy Robinson fans being, basically knuckle draggers who don't really care about anything, and they're just there to cause trouble. Not the fact that maybe their girls are genuinely being raped and stuff and they're upset about it. So I want to try and find something before I go. I'm at anecdotes.
But I'm not being rude. There's so many. No, sorry. There's so many people here who can draw anecdotes saying that they've met Muslims who don't abuse for the majority of us.
I think it's, as a Muslim, I think it's repulsive.
Yeah, I had a pretty good thingy. I can't get it, but basically he said the British public. I'll find it. The British public is 81%. Yeah, remember this? He said 81%. I've got to find it and I'll put it up later. And the Asian population is 30%. Think about it: 81% British and 30% Asian. Do the math. Now I can't find it on it now, so I'll have to find it later just to prove it. So you can see the maths are pretty off. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't really have a massive issue with this dude. I think we've got something in common within the men's right thing, but I don't like the way that the two times that I've met him, he's been very kind of like, you've got to talk to me, and my facts are right. You cannot question my facts. This is what they are. Forget about the CEOP's definition of it. No, it's just mine. I decide what is right, even though you have the CEOP who has defined the two sexual abuse categories as type 1 and type 2. He is saying that they are now conjoined and there is no real difference between the two. And so you've got to conflate all the figures into one. So it makes the proportion of the Muslim groomers less. So instead of it being 85%, it would probably be around 25%, which is still a ridiculous amount. Even if you think about it, even if you was to take out and put them all together, you would still have a situation where it's like 20 to 25% of the crimes of sexual abuse would be attributed to a population which is only 3 to 4%. Yeah, still massively out of sync. But when you then separate the two, which you have to in order to combat it, you then have a situation where the statistics from Quilliam. Remember, the statistics originally were, if you look at the CEOP from 2013, showed that it was 75%. Yeah, that were from an Asian background. Obviously, we know most of those would have been from a Muslim background, and we only make up like 4%. They only make up 4% of the population. But by the time you hit the Quilliams, you had Rotherham, you had Telford, you had Oxford, you had all of these other ones come through from 2013 up until 2018. So those particular figures were put in, racking it up to 84%. Can you not see why that would suddenly shoot up? So to dismiss all of Quilliam's findings because you don't like the fact that the proportions you feel are out of sync is being disingenuous. Yeah, the CEOP just in 2013 showed it to be 75%. It wasn't a massive boost up. It only went up by 10%, which isn't that much. I'm surprised it only went up by 10%. I thought it would have went up to like maybe 20%. So all I'm going to say again to the Muslim community, the Asian Muslim community, sort your house out and stop going around in groups. Yeah, and if raping people, if you see it within your own community, you tell those people stop doing it and shop them to the police. Simple as that. Very easy, and you can deal with the problem. I'm sick and tired of people making it overly complicated. It's not complicated. You just shop them into the police. If you're going to do your own whatever, I'm not going to say it, do that as well then. But it's best to go to the police just so that you can get rid of them and get them registered on the sexual offenders list. Anyway, this is a long video, but I hope everyone watched it. And I'm not sure if I'm going to Speaker's Corner on Sunday because I'm still around my sister's. Oh, yeah, it is my sister's place. But one of my other sister's place got a family issue going on, so I've got to deal with it. So I'm not home for a couple of days. Anyway, take care.